Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to calculate the confidence interval using a t-distribution both by hand using the formulas and by the stat features on a graphing calculator. So first thing is just to recap the difference between a normal distribution and a t-distribution. In a t-distribution, the population standard deviation is unknown and the sample size is less than 30. So really the only difference in the formula is the margin of error. In a normal distribution, the margin of error was the critical value times the population standard deviation over the square root of n. But for a t-distribution, we need to replace the critical value here, because now it's going to be a critical value for the t-distribution, and the population standard deviation, because we don't know that. So we're going to put TC for a t-distribution, and then we're going to use the sample standard deviation divided by the square root of n. And then the formula for the confidence interval is going to be the mean minus the margin of error, and then the mean plus the margin of error. Let's take a look at this example. The weekly time spent in hours on homework for 18 randomly selected students is the following. So I want to find the sample mean, x bar, find the standard deviation, s, and again that is the sample standard deviation, and then I want to construct a 99% confidence interval. Now the reasons that this is a t-distribution is that the sample size 18 is less than 30, and there's no population standard deviation given. So part one, we're going to find the sample mean. So that's adding up all the numbers, all 18 of these numbers, all the way up to that last one of 13.0, and divide by 18. And that's going to get us 12.19. And you should always round your mean to one more decimal place than the data set numbers. Now what you could do to find the mean is to use your graphing calculator and put it into a list, like you see here. And then you choose one variable stats with the list, and it will generate the mean, the standard deviation. So from the screen you can see that x bar is 12.19. And we also, for part two, we need to know the standard deviation s. Now you got to make sure you take the sample standard deviation of 1.75 and not the population one. Okay, so to construct the confidence interval, we need to find the critical value, TC. And when you're looking at a normal curve, these are the two critical values. And in here is 0.99 because we're choosing a confidence level of 0.99. So that means this is 0.005, and that's 0.005. But luckily for a t-distribution, we really only need to know two things: the degrees of freedom and the confidence level. Now the degrees of freedom is the sample size minus 1, and so that's 18 minus 1, 17, and then the confidence level is 0.99. Now when you look at the t-distribution table, you see that the critical number is 2.898. So the margin of error is going to be E equals TC times S divided by the square root of n, and that's going to be 2.898 times 1.75 divided by the square root of 18, and that's approximately 1.20. So for the confidence interval, we're going to have x bar minus E less than the population mean, x bar plus margin of error. That's going to be 12.19 minus 1.20, and then 12.19 plus 1.20. Gives us a final confidence interval of 10.99 to 13.39. So what this says is that there's a 99% chance the population mean is between 10.99 and 13.39. Okay, first thing is we need to enter in the information that we were given. So we're going to go to Stat and then Edit, and then we'll enter in all the numbers from our list. All right, so I have everything entered in. So previously, when I said find the mean, we can add up all the numbers and then divide by 18. We could just go to the stat button, over to calc, and then one variable stats. Tell list one, frequency list you can leave blank, and then calculate. And then you can see the mean of 12.19. And actually the standard deviation of 1.75 is also here. Again, make sure you do not use the population standard deviation. All right, so to calculate the confidence interval for the t-distribution, we're going to go back to the stat button, over to tests, and you're going to scroll down to a t-interval. Now you can have it choose the data, or if you know the mean and standard deviation, you can use that right now. But again, we can choose data, the list. Now the confidence interval was 0.99, so we'll calculate. And we get 10.996 and 13.393. Again, our answers are going to be a little different because of the rounding, right? You could see they use the mean of 12.19444 repeating, where I just used 12.19. But if you go back and you do test again, go back to the t-interval, you can use stats and then do 12.19 and 1.75 for the sample standard deviation. Sample size is 18, 0.99 confidence level. And we get something very similar. Again, we're getting all different answers because of when we're rounding and how often we round through this process. But there you go. That's how you use the Graphing Calculator stat features to calculate a confidence interval using a t-distribution.